How you doing, Ol? BarCast. BarCast. BarCast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the BarCast. It is me, your co-host Mark, and obviously Chris to the side.
Hello
How
there.
are you all doing? Now, obviously, to start off, this episode is going to be about impacts on life, different ways that stuff has affected us and changed us to who we are, both ourselves and other people. To start off, obviously, as I am the gamer, I recently finished a game that came out a couple of years ago called Death Stranding, where basically you're reconnecting America together after an event has taken place that's caused everyone to be in shelters. Now, I'm not going to spoil too much or say what the story is because I'd rather people, if they haven't played it and they thinking of playing it, enjoy the story because it tells it over the span of the game, like normal. But the ending really got to me because you made connections with certain people and you were saying the goodbyes, and it was people that you weren't close to at the start, and if at some points you didn't necessarily like them, and you weren't too touchy feely, and then at the end you kind of hug this character that has helped you throughout the way, and your stories progressed, and you were his first friend, and it really got to me because it's it was such a good story. You're going across America, and then you make a true friend that even helps you near the end, where he's almost helping you by saying goodbye because he wants you to almost have freedom. It's rare that I get teared up over game endings.
It is.
Usually, as Chris knows, I'm pretty much wall. Don't show that many emotions, even in some films. But yeah, it was one that really got to me, and it was the same as almost out of Titanfall 2's ending. So if anyone's played that and finished the ending, they kind of get what I mean with a saying a goodbye and how much of a friendship you build up. So that's the gaming side of me, because it was interesting. So I can go a little bit more depth into Death Stranding to explain what it is. Basically, you start off as not working with this organization, then you join up, but you're the only one that can really make it across America. You're the only great deliverer. So if you can imagine delivering Amazon parcels in good conditions and that, but it's across America landscape, and you don't have vehicles, it's walking on foot. So you got to use stuff like
Good
ladders, things. You got to worry about terrain, and the rain can accelerate time. So basically, you've got to almost avoid that and plan your routes. And you don't want to work with the company, but you are, because you're the only one that can save humanity. Without spoiling anything, that's all I'll say. But
Well,
Chris, what about yourself?
Well, you started off with gaming, and because you're the gamer. Well, I'm the singer. I'm the music guy of the two of us. And the first impact that had me musically, the reason that I finally started doing music was a random gentleman spoke to me. I'll take you back to about December of 2015.
Oh, okay.
So it would be 6 years this December. I went to one of these lodge nights. It's basically an organisation that my stepdad goes to. It's quite old-fashioned, one of those inner circle things. Definitely old-fashioned. That's the politest way I can put it.
I mean, a lot of your songs do give off that vibe because it's quite a good era.
But we went to a carol night, Christmas carols. I've been doing these every year since I was about 6.
Oh, okay, that's quite.
And obviously, I've never been the most confident in myself.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that in my early days of singing, I was never Mr. Confident. But I enjoyed myself on this night, and I really just there was a lot of people there that night, so I felt comfortable enough that I could just sing loud because
Hmm.
there was other people drowning me out. Because there was no solos. There was none of this solo rubbish. It was always groups.
Hmm.
And I was always better singing in groups because other people could drown me out, so I could just sing and not worry about being heard.
I get that.
But there was a gentleman that was sitting behind me, much older. He was about late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, okay.
And at the end of the night, when I was saying the goodbyes to people, because my parents always made sure I said goodbye to people,
Hmm.
he shook me by the hand and went, "Young man, you should do something with that voice."
Ooh.
2 months later, I had my first singing lesson.
So wise words, and you've taken them on board.
Yeah, that's honestly, if that old man
Mm-hmm.
didn't nudge me then, I wouldn't have started singing lessons.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it? Like how
Mm.
one person could change the course of where
Like,
you want to go.
at the time, I was starting to hit the point where I wasn't quite happy with myself. Like, I was 20 stone. I wasn't really. All my friends were going off to do these amazing things, and I was just starting to feel a bit bogged down by my situation.
I get that. Yeah.
Like, I was nearly 21, and I couldn't see myself going anywhere. I needed something to change, but I didn't know what. I didn't know what was going to happen. But what he said just changed my confidence in myself just enough in the right direction that I knew what I wanted to change. I wanted to add this hobby of singing. And then you can sort of hear that in the first song I wrote. It was a song called Move. It was me admitting that I was stuck and I needed to do something. I had to move forward. I had to move on from my previous self, and that's that song which I wrote 2 years later. So 4 years ago. That's where it came from.
Ah, right. So a good bit of origin story as well.
Yeah,
Song, which is pretty
that
cool actually.
that song's got the most backstory to it.
Which is always good to have because then if it's a track that you don't and it's got a story, then you know it's more inspirated and more impactful on you.
Yeah. Obviously, music's been a big impact over my life, but I don't want to talk too much about music because I feel like we've got a good music episode coming up soon.
Yeah, we do indeed.
So I'm gonna
those.
say that for another time.
Yeah. So obviously, as you've heard, like Chris's story is like people like person could give you advice, and depending on if you want to ever go for it, sometimes it's worth trying it because even though you might not think it's your cup of tea, but you don't know until once you've done it at least once. It was like the same with me being like a seafarer. At one point, I never expected to work at sea. I was always like the idea of working as a resort rep, and I liked seeing people from a workplace, getting to know them, and I found being like a seafarer, applied for it at random, got an interview, got the job, and I've seen so many different people from all different backgrounds and different bits of wisdom. So, like before, I'd always feel like I would have to chat in an environment because I felt like I was pressurized to. But one crew member said at one point is sometimes it is good just to be in the company of others. You don't have to feel like you need to speak just for the sake of it. Sometimes you could be in the company of someone doing something else, but you know their presence is there. And if you did want to talk about it, so for me, I always felt pressurized. I had to talk. It could be the weirdest thing, or the random, or sound like the stupidest thing, but I always fancied breaking the silence. I didn't like it because I always felt pressurized. I don't know if Chris, you kind of get what I mean by that.
Yeah, no. Basically, comfortable silences.
Yeah.
I remember when we first started hanging out, we didn't really have them a lot.
No, no, that's true.
But I've noticed over the last couple of years, you've gotten a lot better at just being in the moment and just being completely chill. And I get what you mean because sometimes those silences and pauses can be awkward. But no, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's always good. And and like everyone has it, and no one needs to feel like they're pressurized to always do talking. I mean, I'm not bad in like interviews because it's like if everyone's like waiting outside, I will usually crack up a conversation because that way it kind of eases the mood a little bit because everyone knows when you first go into like interviews, it's a room full of everyone else, and you feel like, oh, it's a competition. I can't speak to them. I can't talk to them. I'm not like that. I feel like I have to mention something a bit light-hearted, depending on what it was. So
Mm.
I used to work over abroad, working for like a company. And when I went for other interviews after I finished a season with them, I used to like just break the tension, just saying, "Oh, how is everyone doing?" Or "Everyone's a bit quiet today for this type of job role. How is everyone today?" Just something like that because it lightens the
Mm.
mood and it gets more people talking. And obviously, you know, when you're waiting for an interview, it's a bit nerve wracking when you're just waiting and one person goes up. So it's just sparking the conversation.
I've not had a job interview.
Have you not?
No, I've had 3 jobs, no interviews.
Ah, I mean, they're not too bad. I mean, like, there's all interviews are never to trick people out, but it's an experience.
Mm.
And it's usually good if you've got a question to ask them back that puts them on the
Mm.
spot because you can see how they react. If they react well to it, you know it's a good company. If not, you think, oh, if I can't ask questions, is it think that's not right?
Yeah. Well, and your thing about talking has brought to another impact on my life, and that was when I started my current job. Going back to the confidence thing, I didn't have a lot in myself, and I wasn't particularly good at talking to large crowds. Same with the singing, I couldn't sing in front of people. I couldn't talk in front of large crowds. Public speaking, not really my thing. And I wasn't exactly the most social. I was quite introverted and quiet. Believe it or not, me now, doing a podcast, Twitch
Yeah.
streaming, singing. No, 10 years ago, that wasn't me.
Mm.
Um, but what happened was my boss started going to these business meetings.
Mm.
And then what happened was she couldn't always make them, so she went, Chris can go in my place instead.
Ooh,
So 19-year-old Chris was thrown into business meetings as a representative for the whole company
so
in front of
of the fire, you
out
got
of 50 business people every week.
wow, that must have
And
been quite the experience.
I had to talk to 50 business people every week, and I had to grow like company relationships with these people.
Mm.
Like my company and turnover was on the line by my performance.
Wow.
Bearing in mind I was an admin assistant
Mm.
or admin apprentice when I joined this company, this was a big role for me to fill.
I was gonna say,
And
yeah.
but the influence it had on me is I can now talk to people
Mm-hmm.
because these meetings started at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Ooh, that's early.
which meant waking up at 5, and so you're tired, you're under a lot of pressure,
Mm.
and there's a lot of I've only been in business for 2-3 years at this point, and I wasn't even a head of company, and these guys were all directors and managers and CEOs of their respective companies, and there was me, this kid.
Must have left quite the impression though, because obviously that is quite a big jump going from to an assistant to then start seeing the head honchos. Because as much as people are humans, it's different when you see someone that is in greater power because you can never judge someone and you never know if you might annoy them if anything happens.
Yeah, there was a head accountants, there was solicitors, there was builders, there was all these range of people, and then there was just me, this office assistant for a butcher's. I felt completely out of place when I started, and I did this for a year, 18 months, and by the end, I had a reputation. I was the bubbly young man who could go there every week without fail, there at 6 o'clock,
Mm.
which is amazing considering how often I would oversleep for my actual shift, but I never overslept on a Friday morning. And but always came up with a different pun. I always had a joke at
Oh.
6 o'clock in the morning. And then the biggest influence was the week after the previous story about, an old man saying to me I should do something with my voice. The week after, I had to do a 10-minute presentation about the company
Ooh.
on my own with questions being asked.
Mm.
And the first slide was, if I could do anything, I would like to sing like this guy. And it would be a picture of Sir Willard White, which is a bass baritone. He's a very good singer, sings Old Man River and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions goes, we know about your company, you've done really well, but you've got a minute left. Sing for us.
I put you on the spot.
Right on the spot. It's 10 to 7 on a Friday morning. And I was shaking in my boots anyway, because it's the first time I've done a 10-minute presentation. I've been doing 60 seconds for the past year. But 10 minutes? Completely on my own? With questions? Normally I don't get questions, but I had questions, and then I had to sing the thing I was least comfortable with. And I did it.
Wow.
Because they said, sing something we'll all know the words of. And I knew that most of the room watched rugby. And the rugby song is Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Oh, that's
Which
nice.
I know because Willard White sings.
Mm-hmm.
And I sung it. Because all the blokes who watch rugby said they will sing it with me.
Oh, that's good.
And none of the sods did.
Oh.
They left me to do it on my own, and I did it.
No.
And I did 2 verses, because I knew the second verse. I went, time's up, the 10 minutes are up, I don't have to do this anymore. And, that left a big impact, because along with what that man said, it gave me just enough confidence to do that. Then it gave me enough confidence to follow through with the singing lessons. I didn't just hide away like, oh, I've done it now. I carried on. And it's been 5 years now.
That's good, because then it's obviously you went out your comfort zone.
And that story still gives me shakes.
It's always good though, because I mean, fair enough. We don't always look on the past, but it's always good to have something that you can always remember, and something where it was like a stepping stone in the right direction where you wanted to go. So I fully get that, and it is scary going out your comfort zone. I have to admit, it's one of the nerve-wracking things ever. Like, you don't know, are you going to be confident in it, or are you going to be knowledgeable? But sometimes you just got to take a step, take it in your stride, and let's say you ever get thrown in the job that you're not 100% sure on, but you know you can make it, still do it. You can always ask questions, and there's nothing wrong with asking. I mean, when I've been at sea, I've done different roles, responsibilities, and I've never been ashamed to ask for a hand, even if it's something that I want to know, just a refresh on the system or something to do. I know, obviously, in this day and age, not many people always like to ask questions. I mean, in school, when everyone, like teachers, will ask at the end, anyone got any questions? Nobody wanted to put their hands up. We all know this, and as much as you know you had questions, you did not want to ask in front of people, because everyone was just worried they looked like a fool. But at the end of the day, what I've learned is you look more like a fool if you don't ask, because if you don't ask, you don't necessarily get, or you don't get an answer. And if you ask somebody and they say they don't know, you can always ask someone that does, and both of you get the benefit. And at the end of the day, it's teamwork. Someone else can help you or give you at least a little bit of advice.
Yeah.
Similar to like with Chris, he had someone that came up that basically told him you should do something with your voice, even if it's just something like the work. So I got so similar to like what Chris did, I got promoted in my line of work because somebody said, oh, Mark, you should apply. You might be quite good at going up to like the next ranking of like started to run areas and do that. I didn't think about doing it because I thought I was still too young, too naive. So similar like Chris getting put into like meetings, I thought I might not be fit for it. But no, he said, I think you've got it. I'm sure like the management will write you, because obviously you have to get a written form in being or like recommendation. Can't this? apply and be like, oh, I haven't got recognition, I'll just swipe by. But yeah, they were more than happy to write me in a report. And lo and behold, I managed to obtain it. And I told the guy before I left, because basically I do like what I have two different watches, and I used to work on both of them. Now I only work on one. So when I saw the guy, I said, "Yeah, cheers for telling me about that." Unfortunately, now I'm on the other watch, but thank you for your encouragement. And yeah, it's like, and that was me getting promoted into a better position for myself, and it's just taking the step forward. And
Yeah.
it's nice that you've got people that will say something to you instead of just holding it back.
So we've been going on about like two of the more, I would say the more recent ones we've done. Like I've been doing mostly singing, you've been doing games in your work. But what's the oldest influence you remember? Because mine is from one of my closest friends, Talia. Because her influence, she's been an influence on me for the past 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest one is the fact that when I was 4 and I met her, I have no idea how I introduced myself because I didn't talk. I was 4 years old and I didn't talk to people.
That's quite interesting.
And people weren't even sure if I could talk. In fact, I had a speech therapist who was sure I would never talk. She thought I'd just be a mute. Or I could make sounds. I'd like babble in my own language, as my sister would say. I didn't really talk to people. Then I met Talia. And I can't remember how it came to be, but Talia's one of those people where if she sees an odd sheep of the family or an odd sheep in class who hasn't really got anyone to talk to, she would be the person to talk to. She would go over and she would talk to you. She's always been that good person.
That's quite
and
nice.
she's the reason I talk. Because she got me talking. And she's been my longest friend.
That is good.
That's why if anyone talks bad about Ty, I will fight you. Because
I can imagine it's always good to have a friendship like that.
Because people may have like these bad ideas of who she is, but she's only a bad person to you if you give her reason to be. She starts everyone off with the same level of respect. She'll respect you as long as you respect her. You cross that line, good luck.
That is a fair point, because
she's influenced me throughout the years, but that's like the big one.
For me, if I don't think I can recall something as young as that in the terms of inspiration like that. Mine's on a different level. When I was young, and Cartoon Network always used to watch when I was young.
Good channel.
And what appeared one afternoon was One Piece. Of course, that was the dubbed version because it was
with the lollipop instead of the cigarette for Sanji.
And it was just, I fell in love with it. I loved the story because it basically was the start, going through the arcs where they meet like Blue. And I used to love watching it, and it taught me different values, like with like friendship, and like someone that could seem intimidating might actually be the nicest person once you get to talk to it. So if you think about it, if you have watched it, you'll see when Zoro and Luffy first meet, it's like one's a pirate hunter, and you get to judge someone, be like, they're not that scary, they're actually quite nice. And even if something like a pirate was painted in a bad picture, they're not always as evil. I mean,
no.
If you look at history, there were some pirates that were doing good. It was just they weren't flying under a banner. And obviously, as people do know, in real pirate era time, most of them were actually hired by governors. So like the England would have its own pirates that go out and get the riches.
Yeah.
And some people, when they got caught, I can't remember the captain exactly. It might have been Captain Kidd. One basically was saying, "I'm working for a governor. Why am I getting prosecuted?" But wash the hands of it, because obviously you're not going to touch and you think they can get you in trouble. But they were being honest. They were under rules that someone was following. They just were their own means. So, but going back to like One Piece, that's heavily got me into watching anime and reading a lot of the manga. So I
Mm.
focus more now on like the manga side of One Piece, but
Yeah, my
it was interesting because it opened me up to a whole new world, and a lot of the stories are quite good. I mean, like you've got nowadays like slice of life. You can relate to some of the stuff there. You've got adventure, fantasy. There's always something there.
my
But
like I watched my anime days as a kid was
mm,
Pokemon. I think I watched like a couple of episodes of One Piece, but I was like
mm,
never at the TV the right time to watch it, so I didn't
mm.
really get a lot into it. My main shows as a kid was either Disney or Power Rangers or Pokemon. Those were my shows.
Oh yeah, I get that.
But I got influenced into anime from my friend, well, our joint friend actually,
Oh
Luke Richardson.
yeah. Mm.
Um, he introduced me properly to anime when I was like early teens, like
Oh,
12,
okay.
13.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite late to the show in that regards. But I have to agree about One Piece. Like the whole, you look after your friends.
Mm.
You don't. If someone beats them up, you want to protect them.
Mm.
Like basically, it's all right to share dreams with your friends, but don't lose yourself at the same time.
Mm.
And
Exactly.
that's what I like about One Piece. They're all very different people, but boy, do they stand for each other.
Oh yeah.
And I love that. For me, my main shows at the moment, I'm quite mainstream anime.
Okay.
I watch, Boku no Hero Academia. I
Mm-hmm.
watched Haikyuu, but anyway, I enjoyed the season of One Punch Man. Didn't actually watch the second season, but
Okay.
I think my favorite one at the moment is Yuri on Ice.
Oh, fair.
I don't know
Okay.
if you've seen that one.
I've not, but I know of it and heard very good things from a load of people, including
Yeah,
yourself.
and anime is, you know, I'd say it's influenced me in a positive way because most of the ones I watch is people working hard
Mm.
to get what they want,
Mm-hmm.
and I really enjoy that because it reminds me that all these people have achieved their goals not because they were blessed,
Mm.
but because they worked their socks off,
Yeah.
and they even stumble, they fall, they have bad days, they
Mm.
get stuck, and they can still move forward from that, and that is really influential and positive mojo for me just to keep trying.
Mm. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, because obviously it's nice to see like struggle. It sounds really mean saying it that way,
Mm,
but it's always good to see there is struggle to achieve what you want
yeah.
because
And it makes what you want to do
mm,
more realistic because you see, like, you know that in the end they're gonna get what they want because that's it'd be a very upsetting show
yeah.
otherwise.
Well,
But
I mean, there are
sometimes
endings
they
like that.
do throw it that one or two characters don't get what they want, and you
Mm.
just go, shit. And it makes you like, I might not be able to do it. However, if I work hard and truly work hard, I might actually do this.
Mm.
You can't guarantee it, but nothing in life is guaranteed apart from taxes.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. That's always going to be something that's out there. But everything achievable, it could be the smallest challenge to the largest. So, like the first challenge, as we mentioned, the first step is a challenge because it's you're going out of your comfort zone. You don't know where you want to go or where you want to take it, but if you experience stuff, then you can kind of define where you want to go. Because when I was younger, I was doing a lot of art, like sketches. Like I used to do sketches, but instead of using pencil, I do it in pen. So if I made a mistake, I just had to keep going. I couldn't backtrack because I didn't want to backtrack. So I used to do a lot of like Asian style with then doing a feather in ink and doing like the scrolls. So one thing I used to do was do like a fish, but I would use the Chinese symbol for fish and make it out of that and do so. So if I made a mistake, I would then have to try and fix it. So luckily, I could make any type of fish I wanted because I left myself with a wide range. So if I made like a tusk, I could say it's a catfish, or I could do it anywhere like that. But I changed from wanting to be an artist to working in the travel and tourism trade, which obviously has been hit hard recently with the recent COVID and stopping that. But yes, my parents basically said you might be interested in travel and tourism because I used to talk a lot, and I was basically it was very hard to shut me up when I was young, and they said you'd be right up the alley for being like a resort rep. And I took that and I went to various places, and I went to a college in Dover, which has now changed its name, but they had a tourism course going, and it would cover all categories with resort rep and also cabin crew. And when I was doing it, I found it was quite interesting because there's a load of jobs in that trade which you might not even think about, like baggage handlers and stuff like that, checking into. There's different types of resort rep. Like there are some that are couples. So if some people are a couple together, you can go on a site and then you could easily help. Fair enough, it might just be you two on your own, but if you're a team, you get to see each other, work on the site. You'll still get your days off. Uh, and lo and behold, I did that for 3 years. I could have done like the level three, which is the 2 years, and straight onto it, but I wanted to do the first one because it had a good subcategory of resort map. Got that under. I had to do a presentation in front of my peers. Very nerve wracking. Stumbled a bit, but I did pick up knowledge of where I could improve on that with like information and like more pricing. And when I did the next course above, it was cabin crew. Lo and behold, I didn't think I was going to be too good in that market, but we had a instructor that does do cabin crew, and they actually said, Mark, maybe you should take an interest in that industry because I showed quite good. Like, even though I didn't select myself to be the senior cabin crew member, like in charge, but because I was always engaging with my fake passengers because it was the other peers, and it'd be like scenarios like if someone was sick, so I'd check on them, make sure they're okay, do that, and I must have left an impression because they said, "Oh yeah, Mark, have you ever thought about doing it?" Lo and behold, I haven't done it. I went more the rep side and like left. I actually left the course a couple months early, so I did all my coursework early, and I worked abroad as my first actual paying job, which was quite interesting. And that all
That's
was a
pretty cool.
recommendation of like me doing travel and tourism by my folks.
That's a good bit of influence.
Mm.
I mean, we've done quite some positive influences, but have you got any influences that you recall which is a bit more, I don't want to say negative, but
Oh
you're
yeah.
either negative or unsure whether it was positive or negative because it had both sides? Because I think I've got a pretty solid one, but I want you to go first on this one.
Right. So yes, my life hasn't been smooth sailings. There have been
Who's
hurdles.
has?
I could list many, but there's no need to. I'll mention ones that have changed. So of course, when I was in school, I was bullied quite a lot. Uh, Stupid reasons why. Wasn't justified why I should have been. But even though, but I've grown empathy from doing it because whereas I was bullied for various reasons and unjustly, uh, some of it being fat, of course,
Yeah, I know that
and
one.
other things, even my nose, people like said a big nose. I thought it's a bit judging and wouldn't come up say it nicely, just be harsh and say it behind my back. But then you really find out who is your true friends. And the difference between bullying and joking is that at least when you know when you're with your friends, it is implied that he's joking. But I grew empathy to other people that were in the same. So I would go up and see how they were doing and be like, "Are you okay?" and look after my friends. And one bully is just a dick, but you shouldn't let that rule over your life. It did for me. It heavily impacted my confidence throughout school. And I've only just been like regaining it bit by bit from the work that I've done. So that was a small category. Another time is being when I was actually working abroad and I was living with another colleague of mine, and we were fine at first. But then throughout certain actions, we just drifted apart, and it was like I was getting accused of like something even though I wasn't. I was just coming up with like an idea, and we were slowly falling out. He started getting into fights, and then I just like started standing my ground, being like, I'm not gonna associate you. We'll work professionally as a relationship, but I'm gonna now treat it as just professional. You can't, let's just say this to me anymore. You've got to stay. So I was learning then to stand my ground, which don't worry, at any age you can do it. I wasn't like young teenage when I was doing this job. I was, I think, 19, so near enough young adult, and standing my ground there. And there was another case where when I first went over, my camera got stolen, and then I basically had to find out how can I get their camera back. So went to my team leader, went through, managed to get hold of the manager, found the person, but it was stand your ground, try and get it, bullying stuff. And I've also made mistakes in relationships. So there is that, and we have mentioned it before, but
we've had a couple of
yeah,
podcasts on relationships.
yeah, and it's like there's different love languages out anywhere, and you're gonna do something that's gonna piss them off. You can't avoid that because you ain't perfect. You're human. You make mistakes, but you can learn. But you don't want to change who you are, because that was the mistake that I've made with some relationships. I changed who I was, or I felt like I couldn't talk to the mutual friends that we had because obviously I felt like I was in the wrong when I wasn't. And I went quiet for a long duration, not talking to two of my best mates, which they reminded me about to never do again. And obviously, my co host happens to be one of them, which we have made.
Yeah, you're right,
And
bitch.
so, and but that's the thing. Even after that long duration, they sat me down and we had a conversation. Didn't hate me.
Oh no.
Had a reasonable chat, had a laugh while I went quiet because I don't shut up. And hence on the podcast, you know that everything goes off script when it comes to me. That's why I'm editing this episode as commandments for something I've done. So do bear in mind, if it doesn't seem perfect, it's because it's my hands this time, not perfect Chris's turn. Just cover that. That's my lovely brand of this episode.
Excuses.
But yes, harsh things have happened, but I wouldn't take it away because it's made me who I am, and I'm happy.
It's character development.
I am still confident, still shy. Don't get me wrong. I will still be quiet. But if I get talking to you and we really do talk, do bear in mind, I won't shut up. I will ramble on like I usually do. Yeah. But yeah, hardships are worth having because you know how to achieve them eventually, and you do see different viewpoints. Now, they have been a couple of mine. They are small stories. I could go further more. So if anyone is listening to this and they want to hear more of these tales, I am happy. I'm an open book. Chris knows this. But it's now time to talk to Chris about his.
Yeah, well, mine could pretty much explain why I'm not as confident as I could be. So all throughout primary school, I was the quiet kid, but I was slowly getting more confident because I was with Talia. Mm-hmm. Secondary school, I didn't have her. She went to Castle, I went to Walmer. The two local secondary schools. Neither of them exist anymore, really. One's turned into an academy and the other's closed down. It's something completely else.
Yeah.
But the friend group I had in secondary was a completely different ball game. And honestly, I'm only properly friends now with two of them. Out of them all. And they were our last special guests. They were Scott and Max. Like, out of my close-knit friend group. Like, Luke joined in as part of the proper friend group from sixth form. But for me, during the main years of secondary school, Luke was just a friend in a different group. He was, like, more of the... He was the smart, but he played around with the fun people. And I hang around with the nerds. Because for some reason I was considered a nerd. And that's probably because I was good at maths. And I was quiet. Plus I got on well with Scott, like quiet with Scott, and Max was just quiet, so it was good. But we had a couple of people in that group who weren't exactly the best to be around. I'm not gonna say names because they're different people now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're better, but I never felt like I could truly express myself.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like they would judge me. They used to, if I had feelings for someone, they would like tell that person before I got the courage to do it myself.
Oh, I get.
I've never
Yeah.
been able to confess to someone my feelings
Mm.
properly because they did it for me
I see.
before I was ready,
Mm-hmm.
and it really didn't help my personal development, and I never felt truly confident.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they used to take the mick out of things like, I mean, they called me Chubs for the whole of secondary and sixth form, in which is why I don't give a crap if anyone calls me fat anymore, because I've had 7 years of it. Come up with something new, please.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Um,
grow like a thicker skin from.
but during my first year or so of secondary, I was very emotionally, like, I could cry like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then after year 9, I think I only cried like 4 times in between year 9 and year 13.
Okay.
That was it. So it's like once every year and a half.
Hmm.
And that was, I think one time I was very ill.
Hmm.
One, and one time I thought I was going to fail my A levels and the stress just got me.
Oh, I get stressed. Yeah.
And a couple of personal at home things which I can't remember. And then it took me until like 2 or 3 years ago before I let myself fully be emotional again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I pretty much walled myself up.
I do get that because I've done that. I've walled up emotions where I've just come as a, well, as the old saying, you get so told to man up, as they say,
Mm.
that you then start losing your emotions, which I was very worried about that. I think I started thinking that I actually lost expressing emotion.
Mm.
So that
Yeah,
has upset people.
I, everyone sort of knew me as I was either quiet or the really happy guy. I was always happy, I was always polite.
Hmm.
But I can look through photos of me and I can go, that was a fake smile, that was a fake smile. I could see every time I was faking being happy
Hmm.
because it was just easier for people to think I was the happy kid.
Yeah, yeah, because
Like,
obviously because you won't get asked too many questions that you can't always have the answer to. Whereas, like, if you just
exactly.
say, like,
Maybe he goes, oh, how you doing, Chris? Top of the world, yeah, I'm doing good, I'm fine.
hmm,
No, the real answer, I was probably doing shit here, I was stressed. What do you have stressed about? Well, everyone has put me on this pedestal where they think I'm actually quite clever, and really, I'm not. I'm an average student who was just good at maths
hmm.
and who was, okay at, well, I was pretty good at pronouncing stuff in Spanish
Oh,
because I
okay.
could roll my R's and do the ches.
Oh, I can't do that.
Yeah,
I really
I
can't.
could do like the brr, hr, che. I could do that. Quite,
Mm-hmm.
so I was pretty confident in my speaking skills, but unless it was maths or Pokemon, my brain couldn't remember shit.
Oh, okay.
Like I had 1A, which was maths, 5Bs, 4 of which were ICT coursework, so I didn't have to remember anything.
Nice.
The other one was RE of all
Oh
things.
god, that's
But I was
horrible.
but I was working in an Indian restaurant, so I had a cheat on everyone else because it was the comparison between Christianity and Islam.
Okay.
And whilst I was working with Muslims, it was very easy to ask them questions which wouldn't be in the textbook because they could tell me about it,
Hmm.
and I actually had first-hand experience of it, so they would tell me and talk to me about it.
That is
And that's
nice.
the only reason I have a B, because my Islam side of the exam paper, I nearly nailed
Ooh.
because I had all this extra information.
Which is always helpful.
Exactly, so I could write things which wasn't in the criteria because I knew about it.
Hmm.
And then everything else was a C.
Not bad.
Well,
Still not bad.
just C's. Like, not amazing, just enough to not fail.
Which is
And my A levels are about the same. They're just enough to not fail.
but it's still good because I mean, like even like at sea and like stuff. I mean, it's quite interesting that when you do find out about various other cultures and how different it is, and it is so much different talking to somebody that's part of it instead of reading it in a book, because you never know who's written the book necessarily or what their viewpoint
Exactly.
is.
And actually, working in an Indian with the Islams was a big influence because they gave me a different fact of work ethic.
Yeah.
So that was good.
If you like our content, please consider supporting us on Ko-fi.
So obviously we've been talking a lot about impacts in ourselves, and we have given advice on stuff that we think people need to know. We're always up for discussing impact stuff that's been going on. And for example, we've talked about COVID and the impacts that are happening. And now that the lockdowns are starting to get lifted, we need to still be careful in a way. Things aren't going to go back to a normal that people are used to. Like on the news recently, I was seeing like how now you can meet people outside, like at least 6 people. But the shocking thing is that some of these parks were getting destroyed by the litter, and it was insane because it's like you think everyone's had lockdown. Most of them do tidy up, or they're now stuck in their houses, so you get tidying. And then once people are let out, you're getting like so much garbage piled up, and it's like, fair enough, there is people that will go out clearing, but you're not helping the situation of should you really start letting people out? I know it's not a positive topic, but that is something that's impactful to the world and the community, because it's not affecting yourself necessarily, but you're affecting the whole area. And some rules, then they might be like, right, well, we can't trust people in parks anymore, so we're either going to close it down until the next lot. I mean, nowadays it's not too bad. Like people are, it's not everybody, it's just a few. But if people could tidy up or pick up
We
their own,
we were on a
that's all
walk
we're
earlier
asking.
today, and there was just box, an empty Easter egg box on the floor. Like,
Yeah,
like it's just the box as well. Like, throw
that
it
could be
in the bin,
recycled just as
people.
easy, or burn if people were like wanting to have like a fire or even to make stuff in like arts and crafts. It doesn't take much, and some places will take in boxes to send off to recycle because they
You're
can reuse it.
It may be something minor, but if enough people do that, it has a big impact on the environment, and it's like it's not difficult. It's ridiculous how humans can be so thoughtful of other people, yet at the same time so thoughtless about the environment and the things they do. Like, I'm not gonna do this spiel about how everyone should be like vegans for animal welfare or you know, because I get it. I'm not gonna fight that. I am a carnivore myself. I won't turn vegan because I just don't see me being able to do it. But the least I can do is keep my rubbish to myself, and I do that. I'm a little messy, but
it's a simple thing, and there are enough bins out there, and if there's not, people could just write into the council being like, we could do with a few more bins to tackle the issue and stuff like that. Because at the end of
just
the day, even
contact
if
your
it's
local
once a bin,
parish.
it's still a suggestion going in. But that's more like of just protecting your area. And obviously, I know it's not the most positive thing or enlightening, but
it and it
important.
probably doesn't need to be said. I know some of our listeners, and I know this doesn't need to be said to them, but if you're a new listener and if you do this, just think about it. It's convenient for you at the time, but think of the long-term effect.
Especially how long we're staying on. And the thing is that there's other stuff going on. And if you've got someone that's trying to sort out the rubbish, that's time that they could be sorting something else along. So, and plus, if rubbish does build up in a certain level, it makes it a risk of like fire. And the last thing people want is stuff starting to burn down. I know
Exactly.
that sounds extreme, but it doesn't actually take that much for
It doesn't take
bad
much.
housekeeping to actually trigger stuff. I mean, I've done the courses, I've learned about it, and it is insane.
Yeah, but I think that's enough ear chewing. But you talking about environment and the community made me think of one last impact, and this one I'm gonna make it a happy impact. Obviously, for the past, excluding last year, for the past 10 years, I have been a scout leader, volunteering, using my time as the assistant Beaver Scout leader for the local group. I have seen, I'm going to say on average, 10 to 20 kids a year, because we generally have a group of 20 plus, but obviously as they grow older they leave us and do all that, and we go through a fair amount of kids. I want to say I've probably impacted about 80 to 120 different kids.
Oh, nice.
Probably more, but at least that range. And one of my favourite things is when I get the kids, when they move up to Cubs, they do the whole goodbye, we'll see you like during events. But what I've liked to do every now and then is I go to like the Cubs or the Scouts. If I'm free, I can just go see them.
Yeah.
And it's so nice when they see me and they remember me. And they go, it's Panda or it's Chris, depending on how old they are. And they talk to me like... And I like to think that's such a nice thing that I've had a positive effect on their life. And that's in turn put a positive effect on me, because it's kept me doing it. But there's a couple of kids that have looked me dead in the eye, and like they're scouts or explorers now, and they've looked me in the eye and go, "You're the best leader I've had."
Oh, that's always
And
good.
that just melts me, because I'm just like, you've had a lot of leaders, because we've got like 7 to 8 leaders per group, because obviously, because as we're volunteers, we need at least like 1 kid per 6 plus an extra person. So if we got 24, we need at least 5 people in the room at any one point as leaders. So we always have extras, so leaders can do like other tasks in a different part of the building, or we can like split up, so we can like, or a leader can have a toilet break without worry, that sort of thing. So we've always had like at least 5 to 8 people per group. So they've seen like 15 to 24 leaders at this point, and they pick me as their number one, and they look me dead in the eye, and they all, like, one of them said it to me, and her parents are the cub leaders. and she said, yeah, she may be my mum, and she may be like the assistant cub leader, like second in charge. You're still my favourite.
Oh, that's always good to hear.
And I haven't seen these kids for over a year, and the impact it's going to have on me when we go back eventually, once we're allowed to, is just going to be a bit overwhelming. I'll probably take like the Wednesday off streaming that week, so I could go to Scouts, Cubs and Beavers, just to go all 3 and go,
Fair.
These are my kids. I've had influence on all of these kids. I'm at least going to do the Monday and the Friday, because the Scouts at the moment have a bunch of kids from 4 or 5 years ago, and those kids that I remember were incredible, and they were the ones that first adopted my nickname of Panda, so they still know me as Chris, whereas all the younger ones just talk to me as Panda.
This is fair.
But it's just going to be so nice to walk into a room and some kids are going to go Panda and some kids are going to go Chris. I'm just going to go, yes, it's me.
It's Panda Chris on the show.
And Scouts has been such a big positive influence on my life. I mean, I've been part of the Scouting Association now for over 15 years.
Mm.
No, that's wrong. For over 20 years. I started when I was 6. I went from 2006. No, 2001 I started. The day after my 6th birthday was my first session. Yeah, my birthday that year was a Thursday. Thursday the 25th of January 2001. And then the next day, Friday 26th of January 2001, I walked into the Scout Hut for the first time. And it's been solid part of my life ever since.
That is good. That is good to hear, and that is a good end to a good episode. And the thing is, as it's been impactful, we've managed to cover quite a lot of categories within it. And it's not bad. But obviously, like, the future is now coming up, and we know for the fact is soon we're gonna have the barber shops opening. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
We can finally get the haircut. I mean, for me, I look like a mad scientist at the minute, and obviously now that I wear glasses, it's reinforcing that.
I'm slowly getting the 2006 emo length hair. Like, I don't have it as bad as a friend of ours, but I'm almost there. And unfortunately, I don't actually get my hair cut until episode 7.
Oh, no.
It comes out on the day of episode 6, which is the 24th of April. But my haircut you won't see until the 8th of May. But next episode, if all goes to plan, we have a new guest. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to tell you anything about them. If you want to know more, you'll have to either follow us on Twitter, you'll have to get me talking on Twitch, or you'll have to join our Discord.
Oh, you do.
Those are the 3 ways. Links in the description of the YouTube video, not on Spotify, because I haven't figured that out yet. And however, we are coming to that time. It's jingle time, and this time it's Mark's turn. So what you got for us?
It is the maker of the jingle theme. And he dreads this each time because I even get told a day before, but I never make a jingle up because I always make it up the last minute by some of the conversations that we stay. But I do grow, like, I lose track of my mind. I lose thinking, oh no, what have we talked about? And I've hardly come up with a jingle that actually works. So I might try 2. And it might be like Mark's Question Corner. So it might work like that. If not, I'm going to go with Panda Chris. I'll make a jingle for that.
Okay.
So
We didn't really have Mark's Question Corner.
Welcome to his corner of 1,000 questions in the mind. Which one will Chris pick, or will it be a guest? Open the mind of Mark's Question Corner. That was random, but I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to save Panda Chris for, like, saying another jingle, because
It's a shame I talked over the first bit. Shame I talked over the first bit.
Oh, that's fine, mate. It still works as a jingle. My voice echoes quite a lot, so I guarantee it will cover over. I'll find that in editing.
Yeah, you will. But folks, that's all for now. So remember, have a drink, have a laugh. We love you from the bottom of our guts. And until next time, bye.